Hey folks, how you doing? Hopefully you're all having a great day today. I was just dumping the dust out of this machine. This is a low-angle pocket hole machine made by Castle, made in the USA. Anyway, this machine it's just a joy to use. It really is. It's not quite like the Craig Foreman, for example, that I currently have as well. The Craig Foreman is a stepped drill bit that drills on I forget the exact number, like a 15-ish degree angle. Don't quote me on that. But this is a pocket hole machine that works with two routers instead of a stepped drill bit. So you have one router inside the table, and after you clamp down, you push this lever forward, and the router bit in the table comes up to cut the pocket. You let go, and then you push it back to the operator, and then another router inside here pushes basically like a drill bit into the end of the board to create the pilot hole. So it's a two-sided motion that creates a low-angle pocket hole. So I think this is around 5 to 7 degrees. I forget the specifics, but anyway, it's a much lower pocket hole angle, which just means the assembly of the joint is just much quicker or much easier, I should say. And then also, it's a lower angle, so the shaft of the screw is going to be further away from the edge of the material compared to a higher angle. So technically that would be a stronger joint or a more suitable joint, less breakout on one side. Anyway, this is a fantastic machine. I really like it. I've had it for a while. And as you can see, maybe, there's dust on this thing everywhere. It produces a lot of dust compared to a drill bit style pocket hole machine. And that's because you're using routers and creating dust that way. So I want to make a stand for this that's going to do double duty. Number one, it's going to incorporate dust collection, so I'll have it dust collection ready to go at all times. And number two, having a dedicated station for this means it's just always set up and ready to go. This is a benchtop model, so it's not incredibly heavy to move it around as needed. But of course, having it set up at all times would make this a lot more convenient to use. So this is the image that I found online to base my design off of. This is the inspiration I'm going with. I do like the fact that the left and right sides are higher than the rest of it, so you can use those as material support if you're, say, putting pocket holes on the side of a cabinet panel. That's going to be super handy. No need for material support in the front, because if you do have a long piece sticking out the front, it's just more convenient to use a shop stand in that regard. I do like the storage down below, but I do not like the doors. I'm going to go with some cubbies with some bins. That's just my personal preference. And I don't want a back panel extending all the way to the top. I want to have the left and right side of the machine open so I can store material in those areas for quick access, I guess, as I'm using the machine. If you're interested in making one of these, I do have a SketchUp file that I'll provide for free that has both a dado construction as well as CNC box joint construction. This cart is kind of a universal cart. You don't necessarily have to make it for this particular machine. You could adapt it for something else. But I have those files available for free if you're interested, as well as the CNC files that I'll use to cut this. I have a CNC machine. I absolutely love CNC technology, and that's the tool that I'm going to use to cut all my parts. Here's a great opportunity to talk about the cutting edge of a router bit. So router bits, as they dull, obviously your cut quality is not going to be as good as when it's a fresh router bit. Well, the one that I'm using now is a compression bit, and I've put a tremendous amount of miles on that bit, especially with this melamine material. I've used it for probably a dozen, if not more, sheets of melamine, and this top, and some various other things. The top surface of melamine is it's pretty brutal on bits, I'm finding out. So Halfway through the first sheet, I started to notice a little bit of tear out, or chip out rather. So this is a good quality cut, right? This top edge that you see here, if it'll focus, is precise. It's nice and clean, no tear out whatsoever. So the bit's pretty sharp. And as I'm getting about halfway through that first sheet, I started to notice a little bit of tear out on the edges until I just let it run. I was like, I don't really care. This is a utilitarian shop project. If this was something like a closet shelf built-in or something, yeah, I'd stop and change the bit. But I didn't really care. This is just going to live in my shop. I'm not too concerned about it. This is the end of the second sheet. See how much tear out each one of these edges have? So there you go. A good quality sharp bit. Will produce nice clean edges, and when it gets dull, it's quite obvious. I'm going to do the assembly here at my workbench so I can have the sides overhang the side of my workbench. When it comes to these CNC box joints, it's so much fun because it's like big kid Legos. Everything just kind of clicks together, and that's just kind of those, as Wrangler Star says, things that give you the fizz. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble this and get it. I'm going to try and get it completely assembled before I reinforce all of the joints with screws. I think it's going to be pretty stable without any screws to allow me to do all of the screws at one time. I found the weakest link, and that is this front piece right here of the top section. As you can see, I broke it off. The problem is, this is the center area for the machine to sit in, and these are the openings or the mortises or the box joints, whatever you want to call them, from this vertical piece to the top piece. And that results in about 1/2 inch of material connecting these two. I was thinking I could kind of get away with it by just delicately putting it in place. Of course, I'm beating on it with a hammer or a mallet, so I broke it off. The solution is not only to recut this. I do have some more material left so I can recut the top, but I think another solution or another thing to do is just eliminate these front and back joints altogether. I don't need the added strength right there. This center mortise and tenon joint, I can keep those because that helps with alignment for this vertical piece. But there's so much other stuff going on that these joints are a little bit redundant and not necessary. So I'm going to get that cut real quick, and I'm going to first try to use the table saw to cut off these fingers or these tenons on the front and back of these vertical pieces. If it doesn't work, or if I don't line everything up just properly, well, I'll recut these as well without that. I got the whole structure of the cart done yesterday. There's a lot of little buttoning up to do. I also changed the caster location. I, for whatever reason, put both of the locking casters on the side, so I switched it so both of the locking casters on the front. That just makes a lot more sense. The first thing I'm doing today, which I love these casters by the way, first thing I'm doing today is going to figure out a hole location for the power cord and add this dust port. Next up are the sides. So I designed the sides to be just a little bit lower, 1/2 inch lower than the work surface, And that is because I want to put some solid wood edge banding on here. That solid wood will protect this melamine edge as well as bring me up to that same height as my work surface. I want to use these side pieces as a material support for wider stuff like a cabinet side or something like that. I'm going to call it quits just a little bit early on this project. I did want to make some boxes to go down below, drawers without slides basically. And the only material that I have that is 7 inches in width, this needs to be a 7-inch wide piece for the height, is some nicer walnut that's got some figure in it. And I really don't want to cut up that just for some utilitarian boxes. So I will continue to use these, or I'll start to use these cubbies for hardware storage, mainly screws, pocket hole screws for this machine. And if the need arises to actually put boxes down in there, at that point I will, with some hopefully much lesser expensive stock. Just everything that I have on hand is a little bit too nice to use for this. So that's it for this project. If you're interested in a free SketchUp file for this, I'll have it linked in the description. You can check that out. You guys take care, have a great day, and I'll talk to you in the next video.